Greetings. This is Justin Allen with the Elite Nurse Practitioner. Welcome to the Elite Nurse Practitioner Show, podcast dedicated to nurse practitioner entrepreneurism and achieving financial freedom, where I talk directly with nurse practitioners who need help. Listen up, our market is saturated. Jobs can be scarce. We are underpaid. We are undervalued. We are taken advantage of by the sharks within the healthcare system, and frankly, screw that. I'm sick of it, and it's time for a change. And listen, I'm here to help make that happen. We are powerful. We can forge a path where we are in control of our career and ultimately our financial and personal well-being. You do not need to submit to healthcare administrators and your doctor overlords. You do not have to take a measly salary. You do not have to work 50 to 60 hours a week. There is a different way, and I'm here to show you that path. This podcast is raw and unfiltered. I have not talked to the nurse practitioners in this podcast prior to the call outside of an email exchange to schedule the episode. What you're about to listen to is a consultation session between a nurse practitioner and myself. It is real, it is unscripted, it is unplanned, and I have no idea what we're going to talk about. Anything and everything can happen during our conversation. The nurse practitioners in these episodes are struggling with an issue in their professional or financial life, and they have reached out to me for help. My goal is to help the nurse practitioner with actionable advice that will enhance and improve their professional, business, and financial life. My other goal is to hopefully help my nurse practitioner sisters and brothers build a more productive, powerful, and free life. So I hope the content and information within these podcast episodes does just that. All right, onto the episode. Hello, everyone. Today we'll be talking to Mike, who is a family nurse practitioner. Currently, he owns and operates 2 DPC practices where they offer primary and general care, but they also offer a variety of niche services. He's needing assistance on how to hire another nurse practitioner to help him scale his business and how to compensate them fairly and how to grow his practice more. Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for hopping on here. So I don't think we've talked to very many DPC practice owners, so I'm really interested to hear your story. So bring us up to speed on how you got started, how long you've been a nurse practitioner, and just kind of where you're at in life.
Sure. I finished school in December of 15, started practicing early February of 2016, and a year into practice, I opened up. I started out as a night clinic while I maintained my 8 to 5 to kind of fund everything. I did 6 months of fee for service and quickly realized that that was not what I wanted to do. And February 2018, I made the transition to direct care after a full January of reading and just diving into anything I could related to direct care. And so from 2018 to February to now, we've grown to 950 members, 2 locations, and we're looking at hiring a third provider or clinician, I should say. And I probably should have done so a while back. And that's kind of one of the things I'm realizing, like me as the business owner, I need to be less hands-on with patient care and more working this at this point.
Yeah, you're seeing the light.
Yeah.
After you're operated a business for a while, you eventually just realize like I gotta stop working so much in this thing. It's driving me crazy.
For sure.
Okay. I guess tell me a little bit about your DPC practice. So, general primary care, obviously. So you're on a membership program. Patients pay you monthly, I'm assuming?
Yeah. They're monthly memberships. We have a few one-offs that pay for the year in advance and whatnot, but generally everybody's paying monthly. That 950 is split up between about 530 on my panel in one city, and then the rest of it which is about right around 400. That's my wife is actually running our second location, and what I'm thinking about, I'll leave it at that, and then you can just direct me from there because I was about to go off on a tangent.
Go off on the tangent.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So our membership rates, we started out at $50 and $60 a month, and we broke it up between age brackets of like 18 to 44 and then 45 to 65. Then we hit a price increase from 50 to 69 with the same, age brackets. And just recently at the start of 23, we went up to 89 a month for just any adult that's 20 plus. And so that's really helped out our revenue in general. And with extra revenue, I'm looking to bring on that third provider. And my thought is to bring them into one of the existing locations.
Okay. So it's just you and your wife seeing patients now.
Right.
I got you. Okay. So with the pricing that you are at now, how profitable is your practice? I'm just curious.
It's very profitable. We run like 30%. And that's nice. Literally everything. My salary, her salary, all the employees, like that's a true net 30.
After you pay yourself.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay. Are you, I'm assuming you're an S Corp. or filed as an S corp?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. All right. So you pay yourself a salary, and then at the end of the year, you get a nice little 30% bonus, basically free of employment taxes.
Mhm.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I've always been kind of curious how, profitable these DPC practices are. I just really don't have a whole lot of an idea because I don't do it. Estimated monthly revenue, if you don't mind, I'm just curious.
Yeah. Right now we're doing about 60 to 65 a month.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
All right. Impressive.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good, I was nervous about every price change, but the price changes have been quite helpful.
Yeah.
There obviously we've come a long way, but in terms of like how profitable they can be, it really just comes down to the pricing structure. And I've learned that over the last few years.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to find that happy medium between not too expensive, but not too cheap, but enough to, provide value to the patient. Right.
Yeah.
Excellent, man. That's awesome, dude. Hell yeah. No, good for you. I think, once you bring on another provider, you should be able to scale this thing to, $1 million a year. I would imagine pretty quickly.
That's the idea, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. How many patients do you guys have total?
We're right around the 950 mark.
Awesome. Jeez, just imagine what 2,000 or 3,000 would be. That'd be crazy money. And are your patients generally satisfied? Do they find value out of it? Do people complain or anything?
No. The only complaint that we ever get, and this is a change that I'm getting ready to make, is that they don't know which number to call. And so, and the reason that happens is because, our EMR sends them a text note reminder for their appointment from one number. Then we have the clinician direct lines, and then we have the office lines. And I've had young people, old people, educated people, not educated people. They're just like totally confused on the phone lines. And so we're gonna transition down to just one single solid number for both practices and just funnel things on our end. That's really the only complaint. We get a lot of great reviews. I mean, you're not going to see our Google listing with 1,000 reviews, but just talking to people every day, they truly, really do love it.
Yeah. You don't need 1,000 reviews on there. You only need 50 or 60, Awesome. Okay. Good deal, man. It's awesome to hear. So in terms of hiring another nurse practitioner, so this is kind of where you're at a little bit of a speed bump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so where I'm at in South Texas, there's one other DPC practice and there's one other hybrid practice. And the majority of people, let alone providers, really don't know what it is or understand what it is. So I feel like for us, it's really early in our region. And in general, I mean, it's still super new to the entire country. So kind of when it comes down to negotiating with other NPs, that's where I hit the speed bumps, basically.
Gotcha. Okay. And so you've never hired a provider before. I'm assuming you just have just general staff, like receptionists and stuff.
Correct.
How many staff members do you have?
We have 1 MA and 2 LVNs.
That's it.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very lean business. They're W-2, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay. The nurse practitioner, 1099 is kind of what you're thinking?
That's one of the questions actually that I wanted to talk about, because it's I pay my wife 1099. And just because she's free to set her own schedule as the next NP would be. And we basically just do percentages of memberships on revenue generated.
I got you. Yeah. A production-based model like that, I think is a, good way to justify a 1099. The IRS has some rules, 1099 versus W-2. I wrote an article about it. I don't know if you read that on the Elite MP website. So it's one of those things that's kind of, can you justify it basically? They classify a worker as a 1099 contractor. They basically need to meet just various IRS laws, basically, the control over their work, right? So a provider, they're basically free to practice, right? So you don't really have a whole lot of control over their work, right? Method of payment, if it's production-based, it justifies as 1099. And basically the relationship, are they able to make their own schedule and that sort of a thing? So as long as you meet that criteria that I wrote in the article, you should be okay to justify that as a 1099, okay? I would recommend it because it's going to save you 7% in employment taxes, right? So anyways, I think they need to be on a production-based model. It motivates them and it's lower risk for you. So, it's going to be slow at first, I would imagine. I know you voiced that as kind of a concern earlier, how happy are they going to be not seeing a whole lot of patients if they're on a production-based model, right?
Right.
Where's your mind been going in terms of how you wanted to pay them?
My thoughts are to take about 200 from my panel and give that to them and use that as their base, which I think would put them, if we were going straight, 1099 based off memberships and the way it all works out, probably at 100 flat.
A year?
Yeah, 100 flat a year. Okay. Which, considering that the average in Texas is 103 and 200 patients in a direct care practice is virtually nothing, there's going to be a lot of time You're seeing one patient a day, two patients a day, no patients a day, So it's like okay, like I'm trying to wrap my head around that. But then, there a lot of the NPs that I've talked to, they're all looking at in the 115, 120 range. And I guess as the business owner, I just have a hard time paying that when they're not up there on membership. And so I guess one of the questions on face is like, do I just bite the bullet for a good NP? Or do I hold off and just wait around for somebody to see the potential in the model?
Yeah, I think that you need to find a go-getter. I think you're going to have to interview, multiple people here and find the one who really wants to work their ass off and then get paid for it. You know what I mean? You will find NPs that are like that. Okay. You will find some that just want their salary, nice cushy job, the little safety net of it, and not really have to think about anything. You as the business owner, that's not the type of NP that you want. You're really going to want a go-getter. Someone who can critically think on their own, who, doesn't need their hand held all the time and they want to be busy basically. So if you pay them straight production, it's minimal risk for you. And if they start off on 200 patients, then like you said, they'll be making close to $100,000. So how much were you thinking about paying the nurse practitioner per patient, not per visit, but mostly just per patient on their panel?
Somewhere between 40 and 45%.
Okay. And so one patient is how much a month? $89. Okay. So typical patient, then you're going to generate about $1,068 a year, right?
Yeah.
And so if you paid them 40%, so it's about $85,000 a year, right? But they're not going to have just 200 patients. I mean, in all reality here, they're going to start getting busier, right?
Yeah.
So,
we get pretty good influx. I mean, we kind of grow at about, if we have just like all doors open, we grow at a minimum of like 15 new patients per month. Right now, we have it purposely stalled and capped just to continue providing the experience for the patients that we want to. So I don't end up at 600 and then I can't do any of the business owner stuff.
Right. So you're running into a good problem here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a problem still. Yeah, you're pretty much stuck. You can't grow any further, right? I mean, you're just so stuck working in the business. You don't have time to work on the business, right? Mm-hmm. Think about it this way. Give them 40%. That's fine. You still make, a decent profit, right? Give them 40%. And just tell them it's going to be a little bit on the slower side for the first couple months, but you'll be making approximately $7,000 a month for the first couple months. As you get more and more patients, we typically bring on 10 to 15 patients a month. That's going to result in a increase for you on a monthly basis, right? So 15 patients at $89 at 40%. So, they're basically going to be increasing their salary by $500 a month for every 15 patients or so, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not going to take them very long at all to turn that 7,000 into 8,000, into 9,000, 10,000. Like it's not going to take very long, 3 or 4 months, right? So I think it's not going to take that long, kind of look at it objectively and just quantify it here. Just tell them straight up, be like, listen, this is a mom and pop shop. We're looking for someone to come in here and help us grow this. Maybe partnership opportunities might be available in the future, that kind of a thing. You're going to get 40% of what you do. This is a pretty easy job. And we really, really want to grow your patient census. And this is going to get very lucrative for you. Now, the issue here is you don't want it to be too lucrative to the point where they're making more money than you are. Right. Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind. But I think if you present it that way, if I would have been a year or two out of school and I was presenting something like that, I'd be like, hell yeah. I was a go-getter. Right? Yeah. I mean, you want a hustler. So I think that if you present it that way, I think that it's minimum risk for them. I mean, within a matter of just 3 or 4 months, they'll be over $120,000 a year.
Yeah. And I mean, if they push the membership to 400, 500, like, I mean, it gets up there. Maybe I haven't met that go-getter individual who can see that kind of potential because it's been a little bit of a rough go with the interviewees, but I guess, you got to interview quite a bit to get the right one, right? Right.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And show it on paper too, like quantify those numbers for them,
Right.
Like this is just what it is. Like it's going to pay off for you. Like, sure, you're only starting off at $85,000 right now, but do you realize in a year you could be at 200,000?
Yeah.
My recommendation for you is just to keep interviewing people, break down the numbers in the job summary, break down the numbers during the interview. Once we post this podcast, if you still don't have anyone, let me know. And we can even post something on the Facebook group. Hell, if you want to post something on the Facebook group, there's plenty of NPs looking for work in your state.
Gotcha.
For sure. I think if you break it down that way, I think you should find someone. But I would advise putting some sort of cap on their salary here. You just don't want to be paying someone $300,000 or $400,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
It depends on what they're contributing, you know? I guess realistically, how many patients can a DPC provider take care of full time?
So I'll give you kind of a few different breakdowns. Like if you were to be a solo DPC provider, the way the vast majority are, I would say probably 300 to 350 is pretty comfortable.
Okay.
And that's like one man shop, Probably if you're going to push to 400, you need an MA. And if you want to go to like 550, 600, north of 600, you're probably definitely going to need like a really good nurse.
I gotcha. So 600 patients at $89 a month, $640,000 a year in billings. And so if you got this person up to that, be like, hey, listen, if you can get up to 600 patients comfortably, then, we'll pay you $250,000 a year. But then you're going to have to add on a nurse's salary to that too, right? Mm-hmm. Starts cutting into it a little bit. Let's just say hypothetically paid them $250,000. I mean, would you feel comfortable paying a nurse practitioner $250,000 a year if they were able to see 600 patients comfortably?
Yeah.
Okay. And then
I still get the other chunk of that, so.
Right. Exactly. And so then an RN in your area, I'm assuming for, this is probably fairly simple work for an LPN. How much do they typically make a year?
In our area, I don't know about the year, but you can do the math. It's about $22 to $24 an hour.
I got you. So about $50,000. So then you're looking at a profit off of that of $340,000. And then you subtract your expenses and that kind of a thing, right? So, I mean, you're looking at a profit of probably, you're not paying yourself a salary out of that. So, $135,000, $140,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Do that with 2 or 3 providers and you're making a very, very healthy passive income, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I think 40% is reasonable. And I think that if you break down the numbers for them, I think you should find someone pretty motivated to get in there.
Gotcha. And then I know you've hired a few NPs on your path. Any kind of lessons you've learned along the way in terms of hiring them, what to look for, what to not look for, aside from like the go-getter and the one that just be cushy?
Man, the biggest thing is someone that can think on their feet, can think for themselves. You don't want someone who's just messaging you all the time. It'll drive you crazy. So definitely someone who can think on their feet and be independent. Okay. So that's going to be a critical factor here. A new grad, I feel sorry for a lot of our new grad sisters and brothers out there, but you as the business owner, I probably would not hire a new grad for this. 1 or 2 years of experience is probably, all they need. I'm assuming general DPC care is fairly straightforward for the most part.
For the most part, yeah.
So just make sure that they are a free thinker. Make sure that they are aligned with your personality, you and your wife's personality. You do not want to have someone in here that is the opposite of you. You know what I mean? You will clash. The personality has to match. If it doesn't, it's going to cause conflict. I have kind of a stupid test that I do during an interview. I'll throw a few cuss words in it during an interview. And if they throw a cuss word back, when they're talking, I feel like that we're somewhat aligned.
Gotcha.
It's a stupid test, but it tells me a lot,
Sure, I get that.
Just test them out. Like I had a mentor of mine one time and he would ask interviewees just the dumbest questions, but it would test them in terms of their critical thinking ability. Like questions about like, if you disassemble the bike, how long do you think it would take you to reassemble it? Like just stupid questions, but like it really gave them a lot of insight on, how their mind works, right? So I guess you and your wife would just need to talk about that. Like, what is it that we want in someone, and make sure that they align with you. Because if they don't, it's going to make your life hell.
Gotcha. That's a good one.
And, someone who's willing to take a little bit of risk as well. And that's why they're on the production model, right?
Right.
Those are really the big things. Other than that, man, a 1099 contractor nurse practitioner is a very, very simple hiring process. Just do a background check on them. Make sure that their license is, actually real. Just make sure that they haven't had any active board complaints or anything like that. Just do a little bit of due diligence. This stuff is pretty simple, right? And then hire them, either put them on your malpractice policy or buy them a separate malpractice policy. What kind of malpractice policy do you guys have right now? Is it a group policy or are you guys insured separately?
We're insured separately just because my wife is a PA, not an NP. And they were just giving me a little bit of difficulties. And just to keep things simple, we just do 2 separate policies.
I got you. Okay. Shop around here. You might want to call a broker and maybe have them shop some policies for you in terms of a group policy that would cover like any provider underneath it. Contact a broker for that. You can use the broker on our preferred vendor list, Wellness Medical Protection Group. They should be able to shop around for a policy for you. Yeah. See how much it would cost to have like 3 providers underneath that, or just see how much a separate policy would be for, for this other nurse practitioner. My practice, it's cheaper for me to just buy everyone their own separate policy. And then I just make sure that my LLC is endorsed on that policy. So that way, if in case, they were sued, they're actually going to sue the company that they're working for as well. And I want to make sure I'm covered.
Gotcha. What are your thoughts on like non-competes? Not non-competes, but like, I guess, what's it?
You're going to want a non-solicitation clause.
Non-solicitation clause?
Yeah. Obviously have a non-compete in it. I don't know how enforceable non-competes are in your state, but you're going to want a non-solicitation clause. Basically, if they steal patients from your business, you can sue them.
Gotcha.
That is one of the risks with this kind of model.
Yeah.
That's a risk with any kind of practice, really. People like the provider that they're seeing. They don't see it as being taken care of by the business. They see themselves being taken care of by that person, right? And so if that person leaves, a lot of them will want to follow them.
Yeah.
All right. I hope everyone's enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick break to thank everyone listening and also give a big thank you to all of my social media followers and email subscribers. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our email list at www.elitenp.com and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Email subscribers will receive updates on new weekly podcast episodes, multiple weekly articles we publish, new courses, and everything else related to helping you succeed. Remember, all elite nurse practitioner courses are designed to help you build a niche practice, increase your financial strength, and to break free from the rat race. If I can break free and the other countless nurse practitioners can break free, then so can you. Additionally, please share this podcast with your other nurse practitioner sisters and brothers out there. The more NPs that venture out on their own, the stronger our profession will become. Now, let's get back to the episode.
The name of this is not coming to me for whatever reason right now, but like when you're going to resign and you have to give a sufficient time notice.
Oh, it's like like a termination.
Yeah. Because, one of the concerns is like, okay, maybe we build them up to 500 and then they jet. And now I'm like, okay, now I have to take care of all of these people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're going to want at least a minimum of like a 3 to 6 month termination period.
Okay.
Like a notice period. Like if they left after 30 days, you're screwed, right? You're going to be just scrambling. So at least a 3-month notice, preferably 6, because that's a lot of patients.
Yeah. Okay.
The thing that you could do here to spread out this risk is instead of hiring 1 full-timer, hire 2 or 3 part-timers.
Okay.
So a lot of nurse practitioners, might be working in the ER or something. They want a little side job, make few extra bucks, right? Maybe think that through if that's possible. Someone that works only 10 to 20 hours a week and only has maybe 100 patients or something, pay them straight production. That way it spreads it out. You're not relying on just one person, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's still, since it's membership, percentage and production, it's still profitable.
Still profitable. It doesn't affect your profit margin whatsoever.
Cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah. So think that through. Maybe with, talk to your wife about that. Think that through. Be like, how feasible is that in this kind of model, right? Like if they have a full-time job or another part-time job, like how available are they going to be to deal with a patient need, right?
Right.
I don't know. Do you think that's possible? You think that would work?
I'm kind of one of those individuals that would tend to say everything is possible.
Sure.
Might be a little difficult, but you can slice and dice in so many ways, we can provide coverage while they're out in the rare event that anything does come up. But like at 100, 200 members, there's not really a lot that can go on that would really throw off a schedule. It's not the same as being in a fee for service practice where, you got all these appointment slots double booked, and then one person's out and it's like, oh my God,
right. So maybe what you could do is maybe you and your wife could focus more on the acute needs of any patient. Mm-hmm. And then the part-timers focus more on just like that general primary care stuff that's scheduled. That way you're not having to like wait for this, Marie over here to, figure out what they're going to do for this person's suspected strep. You and your wife could take care of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And like even that, like in the direct care world, that's not something that actually comes into the office. It's a few text messages, maybe a phone call, and we're done.
Exactly. Right. I do DPC out of my men's health practice. It's not termed that, but yeah, I got bronchitis or something. You call me something and sure. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So do you have any other questions about hiring an NP and kind of like, where you're going to go with that?
Let me just look at my notes really quick. No. I think you gave me a few good nuggets here that I can take back, marinate on, and start to come up with a good plan.
Yeah, cool deal. So I want to talk about how you're going to scale this outside of just this $89 a month kind of a thing. So you mentioned that you do offer some niche services like some weight loss, some HRT or whatever. So walk me through kind of how you do that now.
Like one of the things that we do is the semaglutide and the Mounjaro injections. We're connected with a few pharmacies that a lot of the MPs are using. We do, testosterone replacement. We do women's health, BHRT for them. And then we have some basic infusions, like just a plain old vitamin infusion. We do Myers, and then we have an immune boost. The Myers, we do a lot for like the few patients that we have that have RA or fibro and things like that. The testosterone for men, we don't really push it out too much. We just kind of, if they're interested in it, we'll bring it up to them. Or if they're coming in and they're like, hey, I'm feeling super tired, my erection quality is down, I'm getting some hair loss, and we'll like start talking about them, and we provide that for them. And that will take them from 89 to maybe 105 or 110 or however it breaks down, right? Same thing for the BHRTs, ladies. The IV infusions, we just do like one-off infusions. I mean, that is a untapped little niche area where we can boost revenue to, for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say that I feel like you're probably leaving a lot of money on the table here. How do you increase that lifetime value of your customer? Mm-hmm. It's like, how can you turn that $89 into $140, into $180, into $200, right? Like, how do you increase that lifetime value? And so I think that you might want to start maybe thinking through on how you can add in some of that, HRT and the weight loss and stuff into it. I feel like that, you have 1,000 patients, 2,000 patients here, hopefully in the next year, like, at least 5 to 10% of those patients are probably going to be interested in some of those other cash-based services, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you increase that? I feel like that if you add testosterone replacement therapy, for example, and you provide them the testosterone, you provide them the clomiphene, you provide them the anastrozole, you provide them the syringes and the supplies, how much extra can you tag on that $89 and provide them all of that stuff, through like the models I talk about a lot in the courses? Like, how could you do that? How can you turn their $89 into $150 or $160 now? I feel like you're, leaving a lot on the table here. Something that could significantly increase your revenue, not by like 10, 20%, but like 40, 50, 60%.
Yeah, I hear you. For whatever reason, I just haven't pushed it. I don't have a good reason for it, but we just haven't. But you're right. It is an untapped area that we could use to kind of, obviously I got that 83 a month on my mind. So
yeah, I think that maybe once you hire, either a full-time nurse practitioner or a couple part-timers, what's going to happen is that it's going to open up your schedule. And so now you're going to be able to start working on your business, and then you can actually start thinking about how to do that, right?
Yeah, that's probably what it boils down to. Is right now it's like, I have time to be there for the patient care and, make sure we run payrolls and all the other admin stuff, and kind of getting all this stuff rolled out kind of takes a back seat, so to speak.
Yeah, it sounds tedious and miserable, doesn't it?
Yeah, I need some time back.
Yeah, like once you start getting to the point where where you're at and you're just so busy, how much more energy do you have to put towards growing the business, right? So once you hire this nurse practitioner, what things are you thinking about, I guess, focusing more on now that you're gonna have some time?
So once I get this NP hired, work on the actual delivery, work on retention. Not that retention is a problem, but we've gotten to where we've gotten without advertising anything actually, and we just started really advertising, and that was kind of after I took some of your courses. And so I want to make sure that the faucet or the flow coming in is going as well as it can, and nobody's falling out on the back end. And then kind of look at how we can bring on different niche services to kind of really wrap around. My goal is to really make this like a really all-inclusive practice where, you don't have to go somewhere else for your hormone therapy. You don't have to go somewhere else for your infusion. You don't have to go somewhere else for your weight loss or for your coaching or whatever,
Right.
and then all that will ultimately increase the total value of what we're offering. So, I definitely see a price increase at some point in the future again, as we continue to add services that we can, offer without really taxing too much of our current workload, right? Like, I mean, for those coming in for injections, I mean, that's a quick in and out. That's not really a big deal.
Right. But an IV, on the other hand, takes some time.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like, that's probably like a good point, like why those parts have probably been a little bit slow. Cause like IVs, okay, well, they're going to run for about an hour, then if you miss a vein and so on and so forth. And so,
yeah. Well, man, listen, I think that once you hire someone, I think you're going to be able to really focus in on a lot more of basically just this growth stuff that you need to do. I think that it's going to open the next chapter of your business. I really do. I think that's pretty much just what you're missing now, and you'll be able to focus a little bit more on marketing and doing that kind of stuff and growing the business. So I suspect after you hire a nurse practitioner too, man, I suspect that you will be well north of $1 million within 6 to 12 months. I don't think it's going to take very long. I really don't. Something truly amazing happens once the business owner has more time to focus on building their business. The business starts growing. Like, it's truly amazing what can happen. I mean, I know that's happened with me. Like, once I stopped working in the business so much, I was able to focus on the $10,000 question stuff, and that's when my business is like exponentially grew. I'm excited for you, man. I think you have some, a lot of cool stuff ahead in your near future.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, man. Any other questions or anything?
No, I think we're good. This has been helpful.
Cool. Awesome. I'm sure you've listened to some episodes before, but I like to end the episode with, you asking me a question. Is there anything that you've ever been curious about in terms of my business or my experience or anything?
Oh man, I have listened to an episode that I didn't prep for quite.
It's okay. A lot of people don't prep for that question. So
yeah, give me a quick minute. Let me see here. Okay, once you're out of the day-to-day of the seeing patients, right, and you're actually working on the business rather than in the business, what's the best advice or what's the best way that you spend your time once you're working on the business? Is it kind of, just like checking in and overseeing anything, or is it getting into your own little zen and brainstorming?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, okay? What's crazy about it is that you end up working less and you make more. You start working less and you start making more money because the stuff that you do to work on your business, right? It doesn't take that much time, but you have that focused time to do it that you don't have when you're seeing patients and you're in the business, right? So you have to walk a very fine line. You can get complacent, you can get content, you can get lazy very fast, okay? A nurse practitioner that I've kind of been mentoring for the last few years with his men's health clinic, like, he's had this problem. Like, he's having this problem right now. He's like, dude, after I hired some nurse practitioners, they're seeing patients for me. He's like, I feel like I'm just so lazy now. Like, I don't feel like I do much. There'll be some days I don't do a damn thing and I made $10,000. Like, it's crazy. And so you have to be very, very careful because you could become complacent real quick. And so you can lose that motivation. Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So be thinking about that when that starts happening, because it will happen to you once you hire some nurse practitioners. Like, you will work less and start making more. And then it ultimately depends what your grand vision here is. Like, as an entrepreneur, where do you want to be? Like, do you want to open up another office, 3 or 4 offices, 6 offices, 10 offices? What is it that you need? How much do you want to make, right? Like, what kind of empire do you want to build? And so you just have to really set some goals and some visions and get there. And I feel like that as the business owner, when you stop working in it, it gives you that time to just like stand back, look at your business and figure out where it is that you put your energies in to grow it. And when you have that true focused energy on whatever it is that you're going to do, it's crazy how fast you can get it done and just how much more money you start making and how fast you grow your business. So I guess my question for you is, what's your vision here? Like, what are your thoughts? Like, what is like your goal that you could see this business, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Have you asked yourself that? Like, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, so I do ponder that question quite a bit. I just don't have an answer yet. On a Monday, I might say, you know what, if I can get 2 or 3 MPs working in the current offices we have, like, I'd be tickled, right? And that would give me everything that I want.
Right. Sit back, make $450,000 a year and have a pretty nice life, right?
Yeah. Then if it's Friday, sometimes I'm like, but I could have 5 clinics. Why would I not have 5 clinics? And I just haven't been able to come to a clear answer on that. I think primarily because I'm just too wrapped up in the day to day.
That's exactly what it is, man. I've been there, and plenty of other nurse practitioners or any entrepreneurs in general, they've all been there, man. And so, yeah, I think that once you step away, you're going to be able to really figure that out, where it is that you want. With me, with my men's health clinic, I've opened 2 up, and honestly, I'm fairly content with it. I don't really want to open up a third, I did, but now I really don't. Like, it's just one of those things. I'm making enough. Like, I'm a pretty simple guy, like I don't need $5 million a year. It's not going to make me any happier,
Right.
$500,000 a year is good enough.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. No, but it's actually, it's all reassuring because, it feels like what got me to this point is kind of what's keeping me from getting beyond it, but it's very hard to let that go. So it's reassuring to hear that from somebody else.
Yeah, letting go of that control is hard. Very, very hard. I still battle with it. You just got to do it. That's why I'm thinking maybe a part-time NP would be your best route at first. And that way you learn how to let go of the control and that kind of a thing. Another piece of advice for you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Cool. Anything else you want to talk about?
No. This has been great. I appreciate it very much.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, I appreciate this. And, we should do a follow-up call at some point. I'd really like to know kind of what's going on 6 to 12 months from now.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Cool. Awesome. Well, listen, I appreciate your time.
You too.
All right. Thanks. Bye. All right. I hope everyone enjoyed the episode with Mike. Really, really cool episode. We haven't really talked to a whole lot of people who have a DPC practice. He scaled this thing from nothing to well over $500,000 a year, $65,000 a month for DPC. That's just crazy. And so, I think that he's at that point that we talk about in a lot of the episodes is that, you get to a point where you're just working so much in your business, you can't focus working on your business. And so he's at that point. And like I've mentioned before, over and over and over again, there gets to a point where you have to hire someone to help you. You just do. Unless you just want to just stay where you're at, plateau, and kind of be done with it. Okay. So if you want to scale your business, you want to grow your business to the next level, you have to be okay with hiring someone. All right. And so he's at that phase where, if he has another nurse practitioner or 2, his business will grow, his income will grow, and it'll be less work for him. And then if he can increase that lifetime value of the customer by including additional services into it, he's going to increase the revenue from each patient and grow his practice even more. So really cool episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye. Thank you for listening to the show. Quick legal disclaimer. The content of this podcast is meant for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be used as legal, financial, medical, regulatory, or practice-specific advice. For information pertaining to your specific legal, financial, medical, or practice-specific needs, please be sure to consult with your lawyer, CPA, medical director, and/or your state's practice laws and the most up-to-date clinical guidelines. As always, do your due diligence when it comes to any information found online and in podcasts. The content in this podcast is copyrighted by Galaxy Medical Southwest 2023 and cannot be duplicated, rebroadcasted, or reproduced without our written permission.